Hi, today's Webtoon has an interesting heroine. On Ma-eum, who is played by Se-jeong, is an archetype that I typically don't resonate with, but somehow there's something in the way she's written, in the way Se-jeong has performed her, that is really making this character work for me. And they've just aired 2 episodes, so there isn't a whole lot to go on, but I want to talk about that. So at first glance, On Ma-eum is the type of character who is your spunky, positive heroine, comes from a working class family, has gone through a lot of hardships, is doing part-time work and not being able to find a regular job because people just don't see her potential. She's super optimistic and passionate about life. Usually this kind of character would be paired with another character who is disillusioned with life. That character, the male character, would learn from her how to be more loving and caring and gentle and less cynical about life. And you can kind of see why I don't like this archetype a whole lot. This woman is usually made into a human balm for a man's man pain, where the man represents every actual human who feels cynical and bitter and angry at the world. And then you have this woman who's supposed to teach this person how to be less bitter, how to see the positive side of things, how to love your family and be more considerate and just, I don't know, be good people. Unsurprisingly, she's also very nosy. She likes to interfere in other people's businesses and will, unasked for, come and give you advice about how you should live your life. And On Ma-eum has all of these characteristics. I mean, she doesn't quite have a male lead to teach these things to, but there are plenty of cynical, bitter people around her, and she has started shining her positive light on all of them. But despite all of this, despite my clear dislike of this archetype, somehow On Ma-eum works. And let's talk about that. Let's start first with her name.
안녕하십니까, On Ma-eum입니다.
It has nothing to do with why I like the archetype, just the name immediately makes you like this character. Also, because the script is very self-aware and they make her reference her own name and laugh at it pretty early on in the first episode. So Ma-eum is, of course, your heart. And it just fits her really well because the primary conflict for this character is about how her heart will not permit her to do certain things.
아직 좀 마음이
And they don't really go overboard with symbolism here, but you can really tell where the thread is going. The reason I started liking this character beyond the actor performing her, Se-jeong, she just has all of my heart. But what made her especially endearing right off the bat was the build of this character, how Se-jeong carries herself when she plays On Ma-eum. Do you guys remember how she carried herself in Business Proposal, especially when she was playing her alter ego / friend? And then there is the way she carries herself in today's Webtoon, which is very much like a physically adept woman. She is a judo athlete, not just an athlete, but an athlete who is on track to go and play in the Olympics. It just so happens that she gets injured and has a break. And during that break, she gets time to recuperate, but also think about what she wants to do in her life. And it turns out that despite having given 15 years of her life to the sport, On Ma-eum does not want to become an Olympic judo athlete. That's not quite her dream. Her father seems to be a coach who has trained her all her life. And it's implied in the story that On Ma-eum's judo career is more her father's dream than her own. The show makes it very clear that On Ma-eum has a lot of respect for judo and she really loved the sport. She got to learn a lot. She pulls out life lessons from her career as an athlete for that many years pretty frequently. So it's not like she's trying to run away from something or that she hated her experience as an athlete. It's not that. She loved that part of her life. It was a hard life. And this is what I really love about the drama.
그렇지만 이제는 마지막에 웃는 것보다 그냥 많이 웃는 인생이 더 좋은 삶인 것 같아서 더 많이 웃고 즐겁게 지내려고 노력하고 있습니다.
There is a part where you have On Ma-eum telling someone that she kind of wished that she hadn't endured through years of hardship with a smile on her face, because that didn't let her acknowledge the pain that she was experiencing, and also didn't really fully let her figure out if she wanted to continue down this path. So all of that said, On Ma-eum is a character who is privileged in some ways, in that if she wanted the athlete's life, everything is already there for her. Her father is passionate about coaching her and helping her reach the peak of her career. And she has support of people around her. And she doesn't come from one of those K-drama working class families who always have like debt collectors after them. She seems to be coming from one of the rare Korean middle class families who have their finances sorted. And I mean this strictly for drama land. I'm not talking about actual middle class people from South Korea. Dear Lord. That is more or less the character, her background, and the situation that she's in, right? Now, to draw a little away from Kim Se-jeong's character for a second and to talk about just the larger setup of the storyline, something that really touches me in my sentiments and my mom is the fact that in the last decade or so, we've had quite a few dramas, movies internationally about women in sports. Of course, at no point am I saying that there have been enough dramas about women in sports. It's just that most of these stories are focused on one aspect of women in sports, the part where the woman struggles to be allowed to be an athlete. Examples of this from my own country would be Mary Kom, Chak De India, and relatively recently, Dangal, which was really popular in China for a while. And all of these stories are basically about women who were fortunate enough to get a chance to be an athlete. They all fought against society's expectations, contempt, their own limitations to finally be victorious and get the championship medals. But let's take the example of Dangal. It's a story about an ex-wrestling champion who doesn't get the gold medal in an international competition that he really wanted, so he decides that his daughters will fulfill his dream for him. And so his daughters spend their entire childhood and adulthood pursuing their father's dream, because the story really emphasizes how much this is the father's dream. And at one point, the older daughter, she goes off to a new place and she's training with new people, and she realizes that there is more to life than just training every single day like her father made her do. And she starts to contemplate what life might be like if she wasn't pursuing this one single goal that she really hadn't ever been given a chance to figure out if it even was her own dream. But then the story basically ends on the note that these two daughters were ridiculously privileged to have a father who supported them so much, and they should be so grateful for the opportunity that whatever else they want to do is really not that important, because they got the chance that most women who want to be athletes never get. And because they got the chance, they are not allowed to have any doubts. And this story is kind of what I expect On Ma-eum's backstory to be. Her father was the reason she was doing judo for 15 years. And when she got the chance to pause for a moment, to breathe, she realized that there are aspects of this that she didn't really love. Aside from the injuries that she was sustaining, she was also causing hurt. Occasionally, her opponents would get severely injured. And these were things that she was not comfortable with. And to think that we are finally at a stage where we start telling stories like these, stories that are not just about women defying expectations and social pressures to become athletes, but maybe sometimes they pause and want to do something else for a while. Maybe sometimes they stop and decide to pivot in their career completely. The fact that other women are not given the opportunity to pursue their dream the way they want to should not be the reason a woman is forced to stay in a field that she doesn't actually want to be in. And this makes her character so interesting, because on the one hand, she is this vibrant and optimistic and super positive character who should be getting on my nerves, but she has won her positivity by living through years of pain and surviving hardship, physical and emotional, you can tell. And she chose positivity in the teeth of all of that. So this is not a heroine whose optimism is simply because she needs to be a model, or she needs to be that balm to heal her man. Her positivity is hard won. And even in the first episode, you can tell that. On Ma-eum is a character who's really proud of how capable she is physically. She's also a very gentle soul. She doesn't want to hurt anyone. But in terms of her athleticism, there is no embarrassment in her. Do you guys remember Weightlifting Fairy, Kim Bok-joo? So the main character, Kim Bok-joo, was an amazing weightlifter. She was gifted. However, in the middle of this one match, when she knew that she would be, in her words, at her ugliest because she is lifting the weight and like parts of her are bulging that she doesn't want somebody that she has feelings for to see, she's embarrassed of herself in that state, and therefore she's embarrassed of the sport. She doesn't feel like she's feminine enough to be loved. And of course, this is something that she gets over. That's part of her arc. It was a great storyline. However, it's also refreshing to see a character like On Ma-eum, who has zero embarrassment about her physical body. For instance, just like Park Seo-joon in Fight My Way, he became a mixed martial artist in the story. And one of the things that he realized would happen pretty soon, more as he fought in the ring, is that his ears would get pressed against the floor of the ring, and he would start getting abrasion causes this part of your ear to become like smooth and fold a little outwards. And of course, as a judo athlete, this is something that happens to Kim Se-jeong's character, which I don't know how they managed to create that. I mean, it must be prosthetic, right? Because how? But damn good work, however they did it. And a lot of people noticed that. And at one point, after she gets hired as a contract employee and not a regular one, because she is, after all, an archetype, another hire who is less happy about working in this Webtoon department, and I'll get to that in a second, is staring at her ear because it has that smoothened thing. And she laughs and says, it looks weird, doesn't it? She clearly is completely unself-conscious. She explains how she got that, like why it happens. And the other hire is like, oh, so it's like a badge of honor. And she's like, I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, I guess. And it's a really cool interaction because, again, let me just emphasize how nice it is to have a heroine with no self-consciousness or embarrassment about something that a lot of people would consider a physical deformity, especially in a country like South Korea, where society really values the appearance of young women of marriageable age. And parents have to like hear a lot from people around them if their daughter happens to be involved in a sport where they might regularly be getting hurt, especially if they end up with any kind of injury. So On Ma-eum manages to find herself this contract job as a Webtoon PD. Unfortunately, the Webtoon department she joins is like the poorest performer in this company. However, it's also the department that produces all of the tunes that she has like been reading and loving for years at this point. So our girl is a big fan. And the other hire that I told you about, this guy is somebody who has a lot of degrees. He expected his career to go smooth and upwards, and somehow finds himself in this huge company that he entered relegated to this department that is supposed to have like no future and is very dispirited. And the fact that he's also paired with Sombe, who is taking advantage of him and like giving him way too much work and not really being responsible about teaching him the ropes, is also contributing to his depression about his work. So there is this one scene in episode 2 where our two new hires had like a really tiring day and they're coming back from work and they're on a train, and they have that conversation about her year, about how that's her badge of honor. And our new hire, who's also a main character in the story, played by Nam Yun-soo, you guys might remember him from The King's Affection. That's where we last saw him. He was a second lead. And this guy is playing this character called Go Jin-young, who, as I said, is kind of disillusioned with his job. So he says, well, that's your badge of honor. I thought my badge of honor were like the degrees I'd earned and all of the accolades that I got. And none of that seems to matter anymore in this department that I'm stuck in. And it's like, it feels super dead end to him. Like he has no motivation whatsoever. And her positivity is confusing him because he doesn't understand. At least he has a regular job. Even if he gets laid off tomorrow, he will at least get some kind of a compensation. There are certain things that he has that she doesn't because she's a contract worker, but she is so happy about this job and it's starting to bug him. But also it's credit to the way Mom is. She is very easy to talk to, that this guy opens up about his misery in his job to her, whereas he's been very reticent about talking to anybody else in the office. And he tells her how he feels, to which Mom tells him to hang in there, keep fighting, it'll get better, just stay strong.
그러니까 조금만 참고.
힘내라고요?
네.
And those phrases, stay strong, keep fighting, hit him in a very different way. And this is the conversation that I absolutely love. He explains that when he hears these phrases, he feels sapped of strength. It feels like all of the effort that he's put in, and to be fair, the boy has been trying very hard, none of it is being acknowledged. He's already fighting. He's already trying to stay strong. He's already putting forward as much effort as he can, and you're telling him to put in more effort to be stronger still. It almost feels like a slap in the face because it feels like everything he's done so far is just being ignored. And that really got to me because I felt that way. I felt that way working in projects that didn't feel right to me. Like it didn't fit properly with me. And even though I was working really hard, nothing felt rewarding. Sometimes you're in a situation that you just want to get away from because it's sapping the energy out of your soul. So contained within this conversation is something that I can really click with. And Kim Se-jeong's On Ma-eum, here's his perspective, and she doesn't see the phrases in exactly the same way because they always gave her strength. When she was training as a judo athlete, words like those being shouted from the stands when she was fighting in a competition was very heartening for her. It gave her energy. It let her fight on. And she had never really thought that the same words could have a very different effect on somebody else. And then she said,
근데 준영 씨 말 듣고 나니까 그럴 수도 있겠다는 생각이 들어요. 좀 자제해야겠어요.
I hadn't realized that it can also be taken in this other way. So I have to be careful with my words now. And that's it. That's the moment. My liking for On Ma-eum was just sealed in, I don't know, cast iron. Because when have you ever had a manic pixie K-drama heroine ever realizing that her positivity could be toxic to somebody else? I'm not saying that's exactly how she got it, but at least her realization approaches nuance. She understands that her positive, hey, this is the only great way of doing things. We must all be optimistic at all times and keep fighting and be strong, and hard work pays off, friends. Character is just her own. It reflects her choices, her decision to stay optimistic in the face of hardship over and over and over again. But that may not be the case for somebody else. And the fact that she acknowledged that there is another way that her positivity could be received by this other character just totally made me love her so much. Everything that I disliked about that archetype stemmed from this one fact that she was held to be this kind and compassionate, ultimate woman, and everybody else was just less. They didn't appreciate her enough. They didn't understand how wonderful she is and how soft her heart is and how her worldview is really the right worldview. And that made me feel so suffocated as a woman because I want to relate to the female characters on screen, and she was completely unrelatable to me. But On Ma-eum, she who decided that she would rather be a Webtoon PD, even though she could be an athlete and she had that opportunity in her life, who acknowledges that her way of seeing and feeling and thinking about the world is not the only way to do so, and is ready to question her worldview, not just from this incident, but from other incidences that happen in the drama, really made me like her so much. So I'm just so glad that I finally have at least one version of this archetype that I can fully like. They might just completely ruin her next week, who knows, but it's Kim Se-jeong, and it's really hard to ruin Kim Se-jeong. Even Business Proposal couldn't do it in that questionable second half. But that's a video for another day. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye-bye.